Hey everyone, Jared Gatsby, your local real estate superhero here again doing another Zoom interview that we're got going on with community leaders here in the Inland Empire, Orange County, and just Southern California as a whole. Today with me I have Don Morris, who is primarily known, correct me if I'm wrong, but through Sendout Cards as a networking guru throughout the Inland Empire, and I think pretty throughout Southern California and beyond, right?
That's right.
He's taken the time today in order to kind of tell us a little bit more about who he is and what he's got going on in his life. Don, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking me to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. I just appreciate you making time. Don and I were actually talking a little bit as we were getting all this set up about how he's already had two appointments this morning that he's trying to, he's trying to make sure that there's time for everyone else to be able to see stuff like this. And so I think for that, I'm not alone in just saying thank you. But Don, for the, few people who don't know who you are, the people who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what your story is.
You are very generous. I am sure that many people do not know who I am. So I've been a business owner here in the Inland Empire for a little over 30 years, mostly in the IT and office technology support fields. So fixing copiers, printers, fax machines, doing some computer and networking work, helping people with software issues. Just it runs the gamut. I've been in technology since 1977. I got my first computer, and it was kind of love at first sight. So I love anything that has to do with technology, and I really love teaching people how they can use technology to their advantage as well.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. So, what? Tell us a little bit more about. I know that's kind of the businesses that you've been a part of in the past. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now and how your passions for things like technology kind of play an impact in it.
Sure. So in my business, because I was mostly in the office technology field, I saw that dropping for me, not because of the economy, but because of the way technology has evolved over the years. When I first got into the business, buying a personal computer or a laser printer, you'd expect to drop anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for that. So making sure that that was running at optimum and getting it fixed when it broke down. That was very important. But now, 30 years later, those items are 200 to, even less, and people don't get those fixed anymore. And so, as I saw my business decreasing in that area, I needed to find out a way to pivot. And one of the things that came across my purview was the Sendout Cards opportunity. And I saw it as a way to keep in touch with my clients, perhaps use it to market to my clients. And I started using it back in 2013, and it just didn't have the impact that I wanted. And it was really because I didn't understand how it needed to be used. I was using it to market to my clients when I should have been using it to build relationships with my clients. And that's when I realized that I was not doing something that I should have been doing all along in my business, and that was spending more time with my existing clients, catering to their needs, instead of spending my time going and getting new clients. I was always worried about getting the people in the front door and not paying any attention to those going out my back door. When when I realized that, I thought to myself, well, with the way technology is changing, I want to show business owners how they can use technology through Sendout Cards to to avoid what I had made, to avoid my mistake of the last 30 years, and show them how they can keep the existing clients that they have, which is far more easier than chasing the new clients coming in. And so my love affair with Sendout Cards really began in 2016 when I decided I wanted to do that full time. Not that I was giving up my existing business, but it was going to go away on its own.
Yeah, it was the natural progression of what one business was as it was phasing out and kind of how you adapt and what you said, pivot to kind of, change with the times. Which actually kind of gets into a cool question too, because when people talk about technology, you have a very unique take just because of your past experiences with it and the businesses that you've ran with it. But when people think of how technology is shifting, they don't usually think to things like handwritten cards or send out cards or anything of the like. So why exactly do you think that send out cards has such a large impact on people whenever you're trying to do things like build those relationships?
I think the impact is that we are going with an old school method, but using new methods, technological methods to make that happen. So we're not spending a lot of time to have those handwritten cards go out, those personal cards in the mailbox go out. We're simply using technology as a tool to make that go faster for us, or in some cases, take our hands completely off, but still ensure that we're being personal in the touch that we're in the way that we're touching our clients. A lot of people look at technology and say, oh, this is going to really help me reach out to more people in a marketing way. And certainly you can automate that sort of stuff with email, text messages, even voicemail messages can be left without your interaction. But there is no real personal touch to those. And people get caught up in the technology thinking it's going to solve all of their problems. I believe you should be using technology as a tool to do the same way, the same things that you were doing in the same way to touch people personally in their hearts.
I like that. I think that that has some truth to it too, because, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but this is my interpretation of a little bit of what we've kind of been talking about. And it's the idea behind marketing versus building relationships. And I would say that as being someone who's on the receiving side of some of your send out cards in the past, I've gotten some that, are just like happy birthday cards in the past. I've gotten some whenever it was the early introduction ones. I think the one that stands out the most would be probably, I think, your most recent one that I was sent. And it was one, and I'll go into detail on what it was in a second, but it was to the point where I was actually showing it around to people. And it was about my cats. And in the card, it even said something like, hey, I'm really sorry, but this isn't yours. This is your cat. So go ahead. And if you want to just give them this message for me. And I think that's what it was. It was, you could tell that you had, some kind of knowledge on who I was and what I was I had going on. But you also had enough of a knowledge about it. It wasn't like you just scrolled through Facebook or Instagram or Googled me in order to figure out who I was. You kind of knew a little bit about who I was as an individual and what would make me laugh, to the point where I was carrying that card around and showing it to my wife, going like, hey, so we just got a card for the cats. And she's thinking it's some kind of like vet bill or something like that we missed. And it made an impact. And I think that's why I still think about it to this day. So you tell me if I'm wrong as far as what your thoughts are on building relationships versus marketing, and really how you can work to differentiate yourself from an everyday marketer by building relationships.
So I'm not saying get away with marketing. I think you need to market yourself, but I don't think that you need to market yourself by constantly promoting your products and your services. I think you can market yourself by being different from everybody else. Look, as a realtor, there are a lot of realtors out there. There are a lot of good realtors out there, but that's kind of a given. Whatever the business that you're in, you've got to bring some sort of expertise to the table. And so you can pretty much assume that all of your competitors out there have some sort of expertise. Your expertise is not enough to get buyers or sellers, in your case, to come to you and use your services. And in fact, all of the other marketing efforts that you do in your business, your competitors, no matter the business that you're in, they're using the same thing. It is not enough to be doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, and even doing it better than other people, because your clients don't know how much better you are in those areas. But where you can differentiate yourself is in how you build a relationship with your prospect, your existing clients, your vendors, your stakeholders. If you are, for example, a nonprofit organization, you have donors and other leadership in your organization that you have volunteers that you need to build relationships with. And when you can do that better than anybody else, you will be remembered. People will come to you for your expertise, and they will refer you to other people for your expertise because they believe in you.
I like that. Well, and I like the idea behind what you're saying too, as far as how you build that relationship versus, just trying to be in front of someone, how you actually create a one-on-one. And the thing that it makes me remember too is, for anyone watching, Don and I had met way back whenever people were allowed to see each other in person, which, just sounds so archaic now. But I will always remember the first thing that you ever said to me whenever we actually sat down face to face. Do you remember what that was?
I remember where it was, but I don't remember what it was.
It was, and it still irritates me to this day, not because of what you said, but because of the fact that you got to it first. And it was just, what can I do to help you? And it was very natural. You can tell there was no, fin out of the water with a shark trying to circle me for bait. It was just a very genuine, like, we sat down and I'm getting ready for, this person who I had not really met in the past before to kind of give me what their sales pitch is or tell me what's going on with their business. And, you know, I think we both deal with it where you have some people who are very genuine, some people who aren't. So we kind of go up with this wall, and Dawn just had this way of kind of going over there, and with one sentence was able to just kind of completely diffuse any worry I had of, okay, is this person genuine or not? And it came with one sentence, and I will still remember it, and I will tell people about it, and it is, what can I do to help you? And I think that says a lot about, how you build relationships. And you tell me again if I'm wrong, but I think that one really strong way of building relationships, and you tell me if this is one way that you've built relationships, is by going there seeking out how to help someone else rather than how they can help you in return.
Yeah, and you're kind of getting to it here, but really the important thing is for me then to step back, put aside my own agenda, and listen to you. Listen for understanding, listen for clarity, listen to you, and not listen to be able to reply when you have a point that you've made. I don't need to then step in with that and say, yes, and here's what I do. No, I keep the focus on the person that I'm talking to, because when I learn those things, I can learn what's important to that person. And then I can see opportunities then in the future that allow me to introduce them to people, see areas where there might be some improvement if they've asked me to look at that. And then, of course, yes, take a look at my products and services and see where those might be beneficial to that person.
So you are known, and you say, not a lot of people know who you are, but I've had random friends just know who I'm talking about whenever I say I know a guy who does send out cards. But you are known as someone who's very strong whenever it comes to the art of being able to network. And like you said, you can connect people because you listen to what their stories are. And so you can say, hey, this person works in this industry. That would really benefit someone from this industry. Maybe I should try to put two and two together and just help these two people versus just trying to work on, like what you mentioned, helping yourself. But as this person who's known in and throughout Southern California as someone who's good at networking, what do you think is something that, someone who's newer or someone who's even seasoned but not doing quite so well, what's something that you think people make a big mistake on when it comes to marketing? And then what do you think is one of the biggest strengths that anyone can really harness that could make them better?
Are you talking about just networking in general, or are you talking about networking or just marketing in general?
Let's go with networking first. We can get into kind of marketing later because I know that there is some impacts that can come with that. But you're known as someone who's good at building relationships. I think that that's something that you post a lot about, is the idea of, relationships build businesses, not the other way around. And so
Right.
From that perspective, what's one thing that you see people mistaking and messing up on a lot? And what's a skill or a talent that everyone could inherently have that maybe not everyone's utilizing?
Sure. I would say that the biggest problem most people have when they are networking, whether they're going to an organized referral-based kind of meeting, or they're going into an event where it's a mixer, they go to those events and meetings with the intention of selling to the people that they're meeting, when in fact nobody is going to those events with the intention of buying. So why would you try to sell to them? So you should be going to those events with the intention of meeting people, finding an opportunity then to talk with them one-on-one at a later time, and using that opportunity then to listen to them. Shut your mouth, open your ears, and ask questions that would help them open up and for you to understand more about them as a person. You will leave that meeting with them thinking that you are the most interesting person in the world because you listened to them, not because not because you were talking about yourself, or not because you were telling them all about what you were doing, but because you were listening to them talk about themselves.
In a room full of people who are wanting to talk, be the one person that's willing to listen, right?
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that a lot. So going on to a different kind of topic, you are really big at meeting people. I know that's not super normal anymore, but I always find it fascinating to kind of ask this question to people who go to a lot of meetings and appointments and kind of meeting new people all the time. And you are no exception to this. So having gone to a bunch of different appointments, a bunch of different meetings, seeing a bunch of different people, who is probably the most impactful person that you've ever met, and who's kind of inspired and kind of helped you with your business, having met and interacted with so many people?
So I would say that one of the people that has impacted me the most, the one that's coming to mind right now, his name is Dale Kuhn. He was a member of BNI chapter that I was in a few years ago. And he really impressed upon me the need to tell a story. Stories help connect us together. You will generally find if you start to tell stories, people will remember those stories and remember you as the person that told you or told them that story. That probably has been the most impactful. As far as the person that was the most interesting that I've talked to, there have been many. I am thinking right now. I'm thinking right now of a guy named Dave Pugsley. He's a member of one of my next networking chapters in Lakewood, and I love listening to him tell his story of how he's been doing internet marketing over the last 15 years. I loved listening to him here recently because I have some connection with internet marketing, and I knew what he was talking about. And it was just a fascinating story that he was able to tell me. Also fascinating how he was able to tell me the clients that he's looking for, and how he's able to help them.
I like that. So that gets into another kind of question, though, and you don't have to go into detail on who, but have you had any weird appointments that you've gone to where the person that you met was just a strange character or some kind of unique situation that's, something that sticks with you for one reason or another?
I won't say that I've met any strange characters in that case, but I can definitely tell you I've had a lot of awkward one-to-ones, whether that's been in person or it's been on Zoom. And that's where I'll go in and I will ask them questions and they will answer with just, monosyllables and just a couple of words. And I can't drag anything out of them. I'm trying to learn more and they're just not cooperating, so it's really awkward when I have a situation like that.
Yeah. So that's a good point though too. So things are changing a lot. We're going into some detail on some of the appointments you've had in the past. But as things shift, as things like Zoom appointments and interviews and things like that are becoming more and more common, have you seen a big shift in how you're approaching talking to people and meeting people and interacting with them?
You know what? Zoom has been a game changer. I've been using Zoom a long time, but never thought about doing it for one-on-one meetings because I liked going to a coffee shop, sitting down with somebody. It just felt so personal. But with Zoom, I'm able to meet them in almost the exact same way. I can have my coffee or my iced coffee or whatever, and they can too. We can engage in the same sort of conversation. But I don't have to drive to a coffee shop to do that. They don't have to take the time to do that. So I'm meeting more people. And I'm also, because I am actually attending more networking meetings as a result of not having to drive to them, I have a wider pool of people that I can meet too.
Okay. And so, where do you see things like networking and meeting and interacting with people changing? Do you see it going back to the way that it was, where it's a lot more one on one? Do you see it becoming an amalgam of Zoom meetings and one on one meetings? Like, how do you see everything evolving now that, we're getting into the latter half of 2020 and, everyone's trying to prep for what's to come next?
It's really up in the air about what we're able to do, particularly here in California. Even if we do open up a little bit more and are able to meet in restaurants or larger settings for a group of people, there's still going to be social distancing that's going to go on to begin with. So I think it's going to be really difficult to have those large meetings where you can sit down with your friends and or business partners, whatever you want to call them when you're networking. So I think we're going to have to rely on those Zoom meetings for quite some time here. The one-on-one meetings, maybe we'll be able to do those a little bit better because you can still sit down with people properly, appropriately social distance, masked or whatever, and still have that what you would consider in a face-to-face meeting to be more personal. But long-term, gosh, I don't know where that's going to go. But I am determined that I am going to make the best of it.
Okay. And so, for anyone that's trying to better their ability to network, especially with all the changes that are going on, maybe some of the people that got hit from all the changes that have happened already, you're right. It's very up in the air on where it's going to go and, how things may change because things changed basically overnight in about February, it felt like. But like, what's one skill that you think that as a new person who's learning how to market, they should try to learn as quickly as possible?
I keep going back to the skill of listening. When you can not just keep your mouth shut, but also not get your mind going and telling you a story in your head. I was listening to Richard Brooke here just a couple of days ago, where he's saying, stop that conversation that you're having with yourself in your head and concentrate on the conversation that you're having with the person in front of you. Don't think about what you're going to say next. Just focus on them.
And so, Richard Brooke, is he a big mentor for you, do you think?
He has been over the last, over the last probably 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Do you have more than one mentor, or do you have a lot of people that you seek advice from or inspiration from?
I will say that yes, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and follow some people on Facebook that are very good in these areas. I would say people like Richard Brooke, Tom Chenault, Adrian Chenault, Bob Berg. Those people are very important to me. The philosophies that they have, and it's really, it boils down to this: you're focusing on the person outside of you, rather than what value you can bring to them, rather than on what value they're going to bring to you.
And I think that's it's like what you said, similar to the idea of listening. It's the idea of coming from contribution. What can you do for them versus being one of everyone else who's looking for what they can do for you, right?
Right.
I love that. I love that a lot, actually, just because I think one of the reasons why I was excited to interview you is because I know that you and I share that kind of mentality. I really appreciate your taking the time to come and talk to us a lot about it too, especially because I feel like a lot of your advice is going to be something that some people will take with them from this. And it's really cool to interview some people and have them talk about what their business is, but you're more so talking about how people can help their business. And I think that's what makes you inherently different. I will end it on one question, just because you try to be able to go out, and we were talking about going and meeting people one-on-one. I don't know how much you've watched the last interview I uploaded, but I'm trying to end these on unique questions that'll kind of leave you puzzled and kind of confused on purpose. But if you could compare your business, and the way that you work to any restaurant, what restaurant would you say symbolizes you the most?
That definitely is a confusing question.
I asked someone what they thought their pet would symbolize in their business, and so that was something too. But yeah, you've gone to a lot of restaurants, and I know that you've met with a lot of people at a lot of different places. What place do you think symbolizes you the best?
I have to go with the best restaurant that I've ever been to, and that's been Morton's Steakhouse out in Palm Desert. So when you go to Morton's, and I'm trying to remember the name of the last waiter that we had there, and it's just not coming to me. I sent him a card, by the way, afterward, thanking him for his service to us. He was focused. I know he had other tables that he was waiting, but he was focused on making sure that we had the most incredible experience ever. Not only was he just making sure that we had everything that we needed, he knew everything about every piece of meat, every dish that we were being served, and was able to tell a story about it, captivating us in that story. And it was the most incredible experience that we've had there. We've been back a couple of times, of course, but it was just incredible. Morton's Steakhouse, Palm Desert.
There you go. That's a beautiful plug too. I love it. So go ahead and tell everyone, a lot of people have stuck with us this entire time in order to kind of learn more about you, how you inspire other people in order to better themselves and better their business. How can people find you going forward? What's the best way to get a hold of you? What's the best way to learn more about you? And where can people learn to connect with you?
The best way to get me on Facebook is look for Remarkable. Sorry about that. My battery started going out there. You can find me at Remarkable on Facebook. You can look for Don Morris on Facebook, and you can also look for remarkable.ws. That's William Sam on the web.
Perfect. And I'll go ahead and I'll make sure we have links in the descriptions of everywhere that we upload this. So if you're on Facebook, it's going to be above. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be below. And I'll make sure that everyone has the ability to reach out to you and learn a little bit more about what you do, how you can help people, and how things like send out cards can be the make or break thing that kind of sets someone else aside. But Don, thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. I'm going to regret signing off now just because I feel like once we get off, I'm going to have like 7 other questions I'm going to want to ask you. But thank you for answering all of them so far. And is there anything you want to say to the people as we sign off?
Just my tagline, you can be remarkable.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We will talk to you later, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.